Good morning, everybody. This is Nia Weeks, founder and executive director of Citizen She and Citizen She United. And it is a beautiful, I'm looking outside, it is a beautiful Thursday morning. We're so excited here. Everything this week for our Detangling the Vote project has been incredible. We had so many wonderful guest speakers, so many wonderful panels that we've had, just talking about the beauty of Black women's hair and civic engagement and the importance of participating in the vote to not just change the way that we're able to navigate when it comes to our beauty and our looks and our hair, but how all the other issues that fall under it when we're advocating for Blackness and freedom to move in Black bodies and Black spaces, that, it starts with policymakers recognizing the importance of that and creating policy around that. Today, I am really, really excited about this special live that we're doing. We didn't need her story to be told. So I am bringing up Louisiana native and meteorologist, Black woman meteorologist. I think she may have gone. So I'll wait till she logs in. I'll log back in. But Rhonda Lee. Now, Black women meteorologists, we don't have a whole lot of them, not just in the state, but across the country. But we have one right here in Shreveport, where we had one. And she has this beautiful natural hairstyle. You all will see in a minute. And she decided to go on television with her beautiful natural hairstyle. And, we're in the South. And she's in North Louisiana, Shreveport. And not everybody was excited about that beautiful hair. And they said something. So I'm going to bring Rhonda up here. Rhonda.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, how are you? It's so nice to see you this morning.
It is incredible to be here. Thank you so much for that very kind introduction.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I don't even think I did you justice.
Oh.
I don't even think I did you justice. I think I was just saying some words, but nowhere near how incredible you are.
Well, thank you.
So many good things about you, and really excited to have this conversation.
Indeed, indeed.
So I started telling everybody that you were from Louisiana, but give us a little history lesson on who Rhonda Lee is.
Wow, my history lesson actually is more of a tour of the United States. I have lived in Louisiana. That's, as I say, the place that made me famous, if you will. But I was actually born outside of Dallas, Texas, in Plano. I lived in, when I was a little girl, I then moved to Aurora, Colorado, near Denver, and then Baltimore, Maryland, Syracuse, New York, and then back to Maryland. Those were 3 moves in just 6th grade alone, and then into Kansas, actually. So there was, there were 3 school changes. I moved to Wichita, Kansas. I lived there for about 10 years or so. And then after Wichita, I moved to Virginia with my family as kind of a commute from college. So that was outside of Richmond. And let me think, after Richmond came several cities in Virginia, from the Shenandoah Valley to right outside DC. And then I moved to Memphis, Tennessee. And then after Memphis, Monroe, Louisiana. And that was my first weather job, full-time weather job. And then after that, I moved to New York City, which, a little different between Louisiana and New York. And then I moved to Austin, Texas. So back to Texas, then back to Louisiana, to Shreveport. And then after Shreveport, I moved back to Denver to be on Weather Nation TV, the national network. And then I moved back to Louisiana for just a few months before I moved back to Seattle. So I'm currently in Seattle. I've been here now for about 4 years in the Pacific Northwest, and it's been a beautiful journey. I've learned so much from so many different people. It's been a fun thing. I'm not interested in moving again, but we'll see what happens with that.
I love it. And I'm sure that one thing that we talk about at Citizen She a lot, right, is that Black women are not a monolith, right? And so we experience life, we think differently than each other, surprise, we don't all have the same thoughts. But that there are some themes that are common that we can all we do the Black girl, girl, you know what that felt like, you know what they were saying. We have some of those. I'm curious as to what some of those moments look like as you're traveling.
You kind of cut off there, but
I was the common themes about living, in all those places across the country.
Right. So I think the common theme is unfortunately, I feel like the higher you move up, I guess, and reach that so-called American dream, or higher up in your career, whatever echelon you're trying to reach, you very quickly become the first or the only. For example, when I was in, well, gosh, our move to Kansas, I was half of the Black population of the entire school district that we lived in. And we lived in Wichita, but for some reason, and even though we were in the city of Wichita, part of our school district was in a tiny little farming community called Mays, Kansas. And I was half of the Black population of the whole school district, but my brother was the other half. So it was considered, a great school district. It was, learning all this stuff with the kids and everything was great. But you quickly also find out that a lot of times people equate great with being all white. And so the experience, my parents were sold this idea of a great school district, even though they were like, I don't know about this all white school district. My brother and I toughed it out for a few years, but for me, it became just grueling day in and day out. I was nigger every day. This was during the Reagan administration, or the end of the Reagan administration. So if I wasn't that, I was jigaboo. I was put into remedial classes very early on, even though I was testing in like the 97th percentile on national standardized tests. Right. And my mom's a teacher, so she said, this is not going to work out. So eventually I ended up getting out of that school district. My parents called our congressmen, called mayors, called everybody short of the president, trying to get that school to do better. But eventually it was wearing on my psyche. But at the same time, I feel that it helped to frame the person that I am today. I ended up majoring in American Ethnic Studies at Kansas State University. I was of the first class to be involved in that major. It was a brand new major. I believe it was my sophomore year. So it opened my eyes. It really, truly did. It made me a stronger person and more accepting, I think, of others. Yeah. And eventually, which is strange, I kind of think I did things out of order, but eventually I was more acceptant of myself later on. But it's always been a journey. It's tough out there. I think a lot of roads get paved after adversity. So you get those potholes and then hopefully things smooth out later.
Yeah, that's so, and I will say, I feel kindred spirit with you in that realm. I was the only Black student in my class for 7 years right here in New Orleans. Wow. Mom was the only Black teacher. My siblings were the only other Black students. And in those spaces, there's moments that you don't want to be the representation of your entire race. You just want to be that kid, and they don't let you. And then there's also those moments when you were saying the words that were associated. I remember, one time a friend sleepover, and my mom doesn't let anyone sleep at my house, come to my house with my baby. In my butt.
Oops, I think we lost you there.
Here we go. All right, guys, this internet. My friends keep telling me get stronger internet, and I get it. It's I'm good. We're gonna get through this new tech space. I have so much of a kindred spirit with those experiences. Child being the only or other in predominantly white spaces. I'm looking at this beautiful hair, and it's not, I love Black women. Our hair is our, it's our thing. And I love Black women when we cut our hair. I did a shortcut, a shave when I took the perm out. And I remember I came home, my son looked at me and goes, Mommy, you ain't got no hair. And I said, yep. And I remember loving the wind and the breeze and the ease. Tell me what your hair journey has been to get to this beautiful space that you're at.
Oh, wow. In TV, and I think to some degree now, but I feel it's a lot less, thankfully. But I started off with the perms and the trying to do this all the time. And at the time, those clips, they used to kind of like this, I used to do the little wrap thing and put the thing hanging off here. And I thought it was cute. I was cute. I'm still cute. Shoot. but I remember distinctly, I wanted to go on a trip to Brazil. and I wanted to swim. I wanted to be in the ocean and enjoy the whole trip. So I got braids, like huge box braids, just like several cornrows, really kind of going down the back. And that was fine. But then eventually my hair, you can swim in those, but for so long, and they got kind of fuzzy. They weren't looking as great by day 3 or 4 of my trip. And I tried again, went back to Brazil because I love Brazil. I guess now knowing that what I know now, diaspora, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, love.
But long story longer, I said on one trip, I'm going to cut my hair. And I did. I kept it relaxed, got a cute little color, a nice little cut. It was looking all coiffed and everything, but it was still the new growth and the getting it wet every day. So one day I said, well, I'm just going to go and get it a little shorter. I was living in Washington, D.C. I went to a beauty shop and I said, I'm going to get a little shorter this time and then a little shorter the next time. And I said, you know what? Her name was Tessie. I'll never forget her. Tessie, can you cut it just a little bit shorter? She's like, well, no. I said, well, why not? She's like, well, here in DC at the time, I think I don't have a barber's license, but I have a beauty license. And I said, well, what are you talking about? Just do my hair. So she turned the chair around in a big dramatic moment and my hair was short. It was shorter than a TWA. And I go, oh my God. She's like, I'm sorry. I told you, I tried to tell her. I was like, no. I look amazing. Oh my God. So my accidental big chop, my foray into natural hairhood happened on accident. And I said, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. For the first time in my life, when I left that beauty shop outside of Howard University, I literally stopped traffic. It was like, I don't know if you've ever read the book Memoirs of a Geisha, but one of the hallmarks of a true geisha is if you can stop somebody with a single look.
Yes.
I did that. I did that with my own hair on my head. I mean, the UPS guy was like, honk, honk. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm cute now. So it was the first time in my life that day that I felt beautiful. Because I had my own hair, I was free from the chemicals. I was just free, and I never looked back. And as I continued to try to get in my career and move up and become, I've been a reporter my whole life, but I've even spent a lot of time behind the camera. I had friends of mine in the business who literally had an intervention over lunch. The whole purpose was to talk to me about, well, listen, if you want to get into this business, you're going to have to do something with your hair. Have you considered a wig? I remember just about crying. I held my tears in and did the whole, some in my contact. These Black men were telling me your hair just isn't going to cut it in this business. So I didn't listen. I did not get this wig. I was looking at the wigs. I said, all right, I can do this. I can wear a wig. I said, but what am I going to do? I got to go to the store. I can't walk in there. People are going to be like, hey, that's that reporter from channel whatever. Oh, you should see her hair without that wig on. Did you know she wore a wig? I couldn't deal with that. So I said, forget it. If you can't accept my hair, I can't work for you. I couldn't make it happen. And so to this day, I have never worn a wig, a weave, any of that. And at least in my weather career, no relaxers, none of that. And I feel like I've been free ever since. I think I lost you again. Hello, are you back? Oh, it's just me. Hi, everybody. I guess I could filibuster until she comes back. It looks like we are live. And it is just us, whoever us is. Oh, goodness. I'm not sure. I guess I don't know if I should leave the show or not, let me back in. But nevertheless, I do appreciate who's ever out there. I can't see if anyone else is here or any comments or anything like that. So I'll keep an eye on my text messages in case she comes back and is okay. Let's see what we have here.
There we go.
Here we are. Hi.
All right. I'm glad you left us off with like you said unapologetically. You wear your natural hair.
Yes.
My internet is so crazy, and I've got two doing school on the internet too. So we're like sharing.
I see.
Yeah. Which I think sharing bandwidth is worse than sharing a bathroom.
It probably is.
Oh, crazy. So I'm glad you said that though, because I want to jump right in to into your story. It's a story that we hear all over the place that, Black women, showing up with their hair and people commenting. And like we're used to comments happening in our workplaces. When your workplace is a public facing space, that has a whole different context. And that is like pretty much where you found yourself, I think, with this person deciding that they had, could make comments. I would love for you to tell us, like, what was it like working there in Shreveport in the first place? Like, what was it like being a meteorologist in Shreveport?
Well, from the very beginning, it was fascinating because I think people were more fascinated with me. They'd never seen a Black female meteorologist before, and they told me all the time. and which was fine, because that wasn't the first time I'd been told that. It's a woman, I think, just overall, just a woman in weather. It's not as rare as it used to be, but it is still rather unusual. Right. And then a Black person in weather, what? Oh my gosh, the weather person is that trusted individual at every station. You tune in, it's your friend, your homie. They always feel like they know you. And I would get hugs. I know you don't know me, but I watch you every day. And I mean, I've had people tear up, which to me is like, why in the world would you care about me so much? But when you are let into people's homes, it's a very intimate relationship that you have with people because they trust you. And particularly with the meteorologist, we're there to save your life. I mean, that's really our goal. We're there to help you and your family and save your life every day. But anyway, so in Shreveport, I got a lot of wow, we've just never seen a Black woman meteorologist. So clearly I was the first one in Shreveport as well. But I would say that it was an interesting, my job interview, my boss told me, just so you know, we're known as the white station in town. Wait, what? They have segregated stations? And he's like, well, no, it's just, the KSLA down the street, they're known as the Black station, and we're typically known as the white station. So to have you here is going to be it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a bit of a change. And he was kind of talking. I didn't even hear the rest of what he said because I thought, how is there a Black and white station? How does that work? How do you know? But I think historically, KSLA, I believe it's channel 12 out there, if I'm not mistaken, they were the first station to hire Black staff or Black on-air talent. So that's how immediately in the Arklatex anyway, it became the Black and the white station. So for me to be there and to have a Black audience kind of move their gaze from one station to another, that was even a lot of times a big step for people in that community. Even though it's over 50% Black, it still has, I'm assuming still it has its issues because these kind of issues are clearly slow to clear. So that was my journey into Louisiana and into the media there. But I mean, from there on, it got wild about a year later.
Yes. So you were there a full year before any of this happened. Were there any, we Black folks deal with microaggressions and macroaggressions all day, every day. So were you experiencing that within the year before this incident happened, either at work or in public?
I would say, honestly, not really. It wasn't nearly as bad as I kind of went in there thinking it was going to be. It was. I mean, you still had the other thing that would kind of threw a monkey wrench into racial relations was it was well into President Obama's second reelection, or his reelection, I should say. And so there was a lot of divisive comments on the Facebook page of the station, which of course brings everyone to my story, the reason why anybody has even known really that much about me in the first place. It kind of started with a comment on the station's Facebook page about the Black lady. You can Google it, please do. I won't spend a ton of time on it, but there was a guy who was not necessarily pleased with my hair, and it was shorter than it is now. And he asked me if I had cancer, and I told him no, I don't. As a matter of fact, I, at the time was running like 13 miles a day. I was training for a marathon. I mean, at a minimum, I was running probably close to, I don't know, 18 miles a week. But so I was in good shape. I'm just fine. But that's how the whole thing started. Was the now famous Facebook post, and then my subsequent termination from my job for my response to him. So that was an awakening, I think, and it was an awakening for the U.S. I feel I've never trended on Twitter before, but I did. I trended on Twitter. I was on, I think, all the major networks. Funny story, a friend of mine, family friend of ours in DC, was out sick one day, and she was watching CNN, and one of the announcers came on and said, coming up next, we have a story about a woman who in Louisiana who was fired for defending her natural hair. Those details coming up. And our friend said, at first she was laying there thinking, oh, I wonder if Rhonda knows that woman. And then my picture came up. She goes, oh, oh my gosh, she said she fell off the couch and tried to find the phone for my mom. Like, it is Rhonda.
Oh my goodness.
So it was that kind of, I think, catalyst. And I hate to use that term or overuse that term, but it was a catalyst for change. And I've seen so many young women ever since kind of latch on to the natural hair movement. And there's still some pushback in some regard. But I think overall, I feel confident in knowing that I started something. And, if you live this life for even just a few minutes, knowing that you've made a change, a true change, you're pioneer, you're whatever it is you want to be, start something, do something, and see how it resonates, and it can improve the rest of your community.
Rhonda, I'm just going to pause on that for a second, because I mean, that was just, it's incredible.
Thank you. Have I lost you again? Oh no. Modern technology. It's fun.
I'm telling you, this is like sharing a bathroom. I swear.
Okay.
Talking about hair as more than just a thing on our head, more than just a statement, that there's so many issues that fall under it, including economic equity, right? And we talk about, Black women having to consider hair for work, and people are like, nah, that's not really a thing, but it is, right?
It's a huge thing. It is.
How has that experience impacted, you've gone on and moved in, you're in Seattle and you've continued to work, but how has that impacted your work and how you've been able to move in other spaces?
Well, I will say it's not as daunting as it used to be. I don't feel like I have to explain my hair as much, but I know for sure there's still questions. Like, why is it such a big deal? And because I think a lot of people don't see it as a big deal until it becomes a big deal, you know? And I feel like overall having to explain ourselves is still very much a thing. Everything from skin, we're still explaining what ashy means. I don't care what anybody says. We're still explaining that. We're explaining a lot of times why, I don't wash my hair every day of the week, or, all the time. I don't use shampoo that much. I'll co-wash. For me, honestly, warm water and a good scrubbing and maybe a little bit of shampoo just to get some of I call it the topsoil off. It works just fine.
Right.
Why use a ridiculous amount of conditioner? Because it's good at least it's good for my hair. I don't know about everybody else's, but that sort of explanation, and it's explained light skin and dark skin. And how really as far as being American, or how do I put this, as being truly American, like an American culture, I think we as Black people, we have that, I don't want to call it burden, but for lack of better term right now, we're about as uniquely American as you get if you're not going to be Native American. Because I could walk into anywhere in Africa and they know right away I'm American just from my features, from the whole diaspora.
Yeah.
It rinsed out a lot of the tribe features that we used to have as a country, or as an African nation, I should say, our African tribes. And then of course we had the rape of Black women, which again took out a lot of our African features. So when it comes to being uniquely American, it's Native Americans and Black people. We've had to create our own completely different culture from where we came from. And it is so uniquely us. You're not going to find this anywhere. So I feel like there should be more of an appreciation and more of an understanding of where we come from and what makes us us. And we're still finding out every day that it's not as well known as I think it should be.
Yeah. Rhonda, like I've tried to put that in words sometimes, but I appreciate the way you contextualize that, the uniqueness of how we've had to mesh our African culture with this white culture that we didn't intend to mesh with, but that's what happened for, all the reasons that you stated, and that we are a unique, species, group, and it should be appreciated and loved, and the greatness that we've been able to develop, even in spite of guys, I am so sorry about this internet connection. We are having trouble here, and and Rhonda, I'm gonna make sure that we get good, because I'm gonna ask you to do something after this. So I'm gonna ask you to, because I want people to really understand, who you are and how it develops and all this. And so while we got the internet good, I want you to give, and I'm gonna let you give, because you give such good context and all this. I want you to give our people, and our unique people, a message about our hair, and owning it, and how, what that should feel like, and what that should mean for us. And so I'm going to give you the floor for that one, Rhonda.
Okay, well, I feel that you are just fine the way that you are. And I cannot say that we tell each other that enough. There is still this idea, particularly as Black women, that we struggle more to maintain our beauty. We struggle to maintain our sanity. We struggle to maintain our families, our careers, our spiritual life as well. And there's probably someone who will argue, well, don't we all do that? I feel that we do. But the thing that makes Black women so unique is that we also have this huge outside force of racism. And it is so hard for us, I think, but we don't ever admit it. And when we do admit it, we're seen as whiners. when we do show our more sensitive, our feminine side, because I fully believe there is a sensitive side to women in general, and we are women. And I think a lot of times that gets forgotten. The female side of the Black woman. We're still to this day having to carry the burden of being called strong all the time. Strong Black women. Or I wish I could be as strong as you, Rhonda. I'm not any more strong than anyone else. You know what? I might have to take that back. I probably am more strong, but being that strong takes up so much energy that we end up forgetting who we are, our core values. That self-care is important, but it's of tall order. When you say self-care, if you can just take a half an hour a day just to sit and be yourself, take it. If you have to go out for a walk for half an hour or so, just do that, just to reevaluate. Our mental health as Black women is so important, and it's so hard to maintain. And so my heart goes out to every Black woman out there trying to hold her stuff together every day, to be as strong as she can at every moment. Just know you're not alone. You are in a sister circle. Find your way whenever you get a moment. Take care of yourself. Be strong, but be realistic. Be sensitive, but be soft with yourself. I think as soon as Black women stop carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, it'll be different. Our lives will be intimately changed. So I would encourage everyone and anyone to just do the very best you can with what you have and be gentle with yourself.
Rhonda, that's a word. That's a word.
I hope it's helpful. I mean, that's what I still struggle with that.
Same.
Every day. I really do.
Same.
It's hard.
It's hard. It is hard. But, I love how, we do have a sister circle.
Mm-hmm.
There are spaces and places, and we see each other. We really do.
Mm-hmm.
And we really intrinsically love each other.
I think so.
Yeah.
But it starts with loving you. It's so cliche, but I think it's so cliche because we have yet to actually fulfill it. We have got to love ourselves and do what is right for us. It might not be right for even your own husband, and it might not be ideal for your kids. Yes, your kids should come first, but think of a bigger picture. If you were doing something for yourself, a lot of times you end up helping your kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rhonda, I kindred spirit on so many levels. Like I'm listening to your story, I could hear my heart echoed out of your words. And like, it's just one of the things that I do love about the connectivity that Black women have, that we have these shared experiences. I also am like grateful that I can call you, at, and 4:00 in the afternoon and say, I want to hear your story. Let's get your story. And like,
here I am before breakfast. My goodness, it is smoky out there. It's fog. For those, hey, it's just me again. I've been dealing with the wildfire smoke here. It is smoky, and it's also foggy, also known as smog.
There you go. All right. Since we're finally connected,
because we only have about 5 more minutes now, but still, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to find me, to reach out. Big shout out, of course, to our mutual friend, Bambi.
Yes, Bambi Hall. Absolutely. Rhonda, thank you.
Yes.
Also, you're a Zeta, am I correct?
Oh, you are definitely correct. Thank you for acknowledging that, Miss Delta.
My mom was a Zeta.
Oh, good. Well, close her.
Yes, and her spirit reigns in this house, and so you have kindred spirit in this house as well.
Well, that's a blessing. Thank you.
Yeah, Rhonda, thank you again. I'm sending you. This is not the last time we're going to talk, by the way.
Of course not. Of course, you have my information. I'm in for anyone who watches this later. I don't know if your chat shows up or not, but that's all you can give out my contact information. I'd love to talk to whomever.
You know what? I am going to put this into the comments.
Okay.
That it can, it lives there. Comments live forever.
Mm-hmm.
I will make sure. There we go.
Thank you.
Lady.
Yeah, it worked.
How you doing, lady? Rhonda, thank you again. I appreciate y'all. This is an incredible conversation with Rhonda Lee. Yes. I appreciate her story and her words and her love and support. And thank y'all so much.
Thank you. And you guys have a great day. Fantastic.
Bye-bye.